No. Imagine you're in 6th grade, I'm sorry. So you're about 11 or 12 years old. You have a 4-year-old brother or sister. So from 12, 4 years older would make her or him 8 years old. Now you have a mother who's able to pay the rent and she's able to get food in the refrigerator for you. But outside of that, maybe she's just not the greatest mother. Maybe she has a drug problem, or a drinking problem, or just a narcotics problem for this age. So at 12 years old, you're forced with, how do I change my clothes every day when I go to school? I would like different clothes to wear. I would like my little brother and my little sister to eat. But my parent is pretty not responsible enough to do these things. Now that's a lot of pressure for a 12-year-old. What do you do? All right, close your eyes again. Second scenario. You had great parents this time, great parents, Ivy League parents. Now you're a grown person. Your rent has to be paid every 30 days. They really don't want to hear, I don't have the rent. Maybe sometimes, but every 30 days it needs to be paid. The children want school clothes because school's coming up and would like to look nice at school. Now, you're a good person. You're not a bad person at all. You're a great person. But what do you do? How many times do you fill out a job application to not get a call back? It's easy for someone to say, go out, get a job. Why won't you work? People who don't work are lazy. I can tell you now, I can fill out 30 applications up and down the street. My rent has to be paid within 30 days. It's no guarantee the job will call me back in 2 weeks, and it takes 2 weeks to get a check. It won't call me back in 2 weeks. They might call me back in a month. Hence, my 30 days is over. The bottom line is they don't care about that. Alex, I don't care who's calling me back for a job. I want my rent money, aside with my BG&E money and a whole bunch of other money. And Christmas is approaching. You throw that in too. What do? We're all good people. We're all looking for active work. What do we do? Nobody has the answer for what you do. Now, start my speech. The legalization and decriminalization of narcotics. In Baltimore, as with all cities in the United States, the possession, consumption, and distribution of drugs is illegal and punishable by and up to imprisonment. I say that this is a waste of time and hypocrisy. According to 2005 Maryland State Police statistics, there were 3,522 arrests of juveniles for drug-related offenses and 24,422 for adult offenders. Now consider this. In 1998 to 99 in California, the cost of housing an inmate was $20,758. So let's assume that Baltimore and California roughly share the same cost. Rounding just our adult figure, not the 4,000 juveniles who got locked up, just the adult figure. Rounding that to 25,000, multiply that by 20,758, and you'd approximately get $518,950,000 to house all arrested Baltimore perpetrators at the rate of California's housing, $500 million. Now that number is only approximate and is subject to outside factors such as the year and the state-by-state economy. But you get the big picture I'm going with it. Now, a current year of tuition at Yale is $53,070, about twice what it would cost to house an inmate in California in 1998. According to Neil Franklin, a Maryland State police officer for 32 years, quoted in Esquire magazine in September '09, there are roughly 600,000 people in Baltimore. There are between 240 and 300 murders a year. In addition, consider that the Center for Behavioral Health and Statistics themselves in 2010, Baltimore, Maryland has more per capita individuals living with heroin addiction than any other state. And just to put that in a number we all can understand, that's roughly 1 in every 10 people that we see walking up outside of the school district that we see walking up. Every 1 in 10. And you go in some areas, it might be like 7 out of 10. So, with all this to think about, hear me out. Rapists, murderers, armed robbers, extortionists, child molesters, these are all horrible crimes. Other than robbery and in some instances murder, none could be justified by a rational human being. Incarceration is perfect for them, especially the molesters. But it's a jail term, and an ensuing mark on my professional background that will hinder me forever and may also perpetuate the cycle of, by me not being able to find anything legal to do, then I'll have to do something else illegal until you mess up 3 times and then give you 25 years to life. But I mean, what do? So is the jail term and ensuing mark on my professional background appropriate for someone guilty of a crime that can only injure them? At worst, the agreement between a drug dealer and user is one of mutual understanding and symbiotic nature, much like the relationship between a bartender and his patron. It just so happens that one is legalized by our government and the other isn't, anymore at least. Drugs aren't a black problem, drugs are not a white problem, they're a socio-economic problem. Drug addiction is about experimentation, escape, despair, hopelessness, masquerading as hope. Is a drug addict an incorrigible criminal that should be warehoused away from society, or an ill person that should be helped to restore their equilibrium? Is a drug dealer a nefarious villain, or an enterprising survivor in a harsh environment? These both are victimless crimes. TVs and movies will have us equate drug dealers with Tony Montana and Marlo Stanfield. Luxury cars, $500 shoes, shopping sprees at Tyson's Corner. Those all go with the cliched stereotype. But what about the person who needs to feed themselves and their family after all traditional means have been exhausted by the outside world? In desperation, they hustle to survive, to pay the rent, not to buy the condo, to get school clothes for the children, not for a Gucci belt. But by and large, our court systems are being clogged with useless, low-level possession and distribution cases. So much so that probation, suspended sentences, and stat dockets are readily made available as an alternative to imprisonment, as our jails in Baltimore City are already hemorrhaging with inmates as it is. With the decriminalization of drugs, you are in one fell swoop eliminating a lot of needless casework of officers and prosecutors. If you talk to any officer who walks the beat every day or who's definitely in the street every day, they'll tell you that much of my job is BS. I have to lock you up if you have a bag of weed on me. Is that cutting the crime in Baltimore? Hell no. But I have to do it. Now, all of them don't do it. Some are really cool. They look the other way a lot of times. But by and large, that too is clogging up our, if you ever had to go sit in court, watch how many petty drug cases you hear. Not of people who were selling drugs and made $3 off of drugs, but people who spent their last $3 and shot it up in their arm, and now you're arresting them for ruining their life? That's amazing. With the decriminalization of drugs and one fell swoop eliminating a lot of the needless casework and prosecution. By their taxation and regulation, drug users can be assured safe product and means to obtain it, and as taxpayers, this could generate a new line of revenue. So if you want to smoke crack until your heart busts, go ahead. It's your life. Simultaneously, though, programs can use the saved budget overflow to fund more rehabilitation programs and training programs for those who wish not to sell but have no other training. Inevitably, someone's going to say, well, then they're going to start robbing me. I'll tell you, a robber is a robber in a way that a child molester is a child molester. They're both in their own separate category. The term criminal is not interchangeable with any charge that's a crime. What makes a robber is a distinctive, and what makes a child molester a child molester. And I had to use two things that were greatly different. But one is one and one is not the other. You don't just wake up and say, I'm gonna rob the bank, or I'm gonna rob you, or I'm gonna rob you. Robbing is something that you're already a robber, much like you're already a rapist. When you, by the time you ever rape somebody, you've already gone over in your head. Everybody can't be a robber. Everybody can't sell drugs, and everybody can't be a rapist. Everybody can't be a murderer, more to the point.